Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner. I welcome you all to my live stream tonight. I had told you guys earlier on that I was going to do this, and it was going to be big, and there was going to be some reasons for it. And I will tell you those reasons just as soon as I get really going here. So if you're coming in, please sign in. Let me know who you are so I know who I'm dealing with tonight. I would love to hear from all you guys. As you know, you can leave comments with me on this live stream. I will make a notation. A lot of the videos that I'm going to create tonight, and I'll start with this. When I make these individual videos, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want any of my students to feel like that they have to go through the entire live stream just to find the one little section that they actually need. That's crazy and ridiculous, and yeah, that's not going to happen, okay? So what I do is I actually take my Kodak Easy Share. There it is, my Kodak Easy Share. I take this, and I set it up right next to me, and that's why I put my chair at an angle so that I can record, and there you go. Now, this is going to be a rather lengthy live stream, and for good reason, okay? I'm going to be covering some very important topics here, and I'll explain that to you guys as I record these little mini videos. Now, what you see every day when they post up is portions of the live stream that I've done already, okay? So if you want to watch the whole live stream, you can see these little videos. Now, sometimes what I will do is I will tape these mini videos, and then I will edit the mini videos with illustrations, and there you go. And that's how that's done, okay? This happens a lot with things like the smartphone videos or some other videos. You'll see that where I will actually drop some illustrations that I make with the Microsoft Paint program, and boom, 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 and there you go. And that's what we do here, okay? So anyway, I'm glad that you guys are here to stop by. I am starting my live stream, and you know I got some pretty important information to cover with you guys. So let's get into that, shall we? Now, I will have to interrupt from time to time for various reasons, mainly because this is going to make me awful dang thirsty, considering the fact of all the material I'm getting ready to cover. You're like, what material? Oh, you have no idea. First of all, I'm going to be talking about computers, because you guys need a better understanding of what's going on with your computers, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Secondly, and this is most important, I'm going to be talking about how to generate alternative energy. Why? Because, well, almost let the cat out of the bag. I will let you know a little bit later why we're going to be talking about alternative energy. Trust me, there's a good reason, and you're going to find out. All right, I am also going to review some songs today, and also I'm going to do another segment of my review of Danica and McKellar's Math Doesn't Suck book. I am also going to review videos that were uploaded by Roman King, that were uploaded by Survival on a Budget Made Easy, and also uploaded by the beautiful Goldenhour and Where the Heck Are the Albans. I'm going to review one of theirs as well. Like, wow. As a matter of fact, I will tell you guys tonight that the beautiful Goldenhour earlier today did a live stream, and it didn't look like very many people actually watched. I'm so sorry about that. I know how that is with my live streams. Hardly anybody watches it when it's first live. Then we get to watching. I can see somebody is actually in the room right now. Please let me know who you are. Sign in, please, so I can know who you are. I've already got a like for this video, so that's great, and that's fantastic and wonderful. I am glad to see that. Okay, so why did I start the live stream so early? Well, there's a lot of information to cover tonight. All right, so I am going to grab a washcloth for my dry erase board here, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to cover, and I'm going to use my little markers. And then especially with Danica and McKellar's Math Doesn't Suck book, we're going to have to cover that too. And then, like I said, I'm going to be drinking a lot of water throughout the whole course of this presentation. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. So hang in there, folks. Let me get the washcloth, and then we'll begin. All right? So sign in, everybody. Let me know you're here. I need to see who's here and who's not. So please sign in. I'm going to give a couple minutes here to tell me who you are, and I'll be glad to see you. Survival on a Budget Made Easy is here tonight. That is good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Anyway, I had already told Survival on a Budget Made Easy that I was going to be doing this tonight. The main reason I told him that is because some of the material in here, he's more mechanically inclined than I am, so he may be able to give us some feedback and stuff about some of the things I'm going to be covering tonight. That'll happen a little later on in the video. The early stuff, there is another person that I've invited and hopefully will be here, and hopefully will be able to help us with some of this as well. At least I hope. Just trying to adjust the camera, folks. All right, now. That's brilliant. Okay, now, let's see. Probably should have fixed that first. Oh, well. There we go. Okay. That's not quite where I want to go. Let's see. Okay. Now, I admit some of this, but we have a second person on our live stream tonight. Please let me know who you are. I'd love to hear from you. Come on in. Let me know. Okay, as you guys start signing in, please let me know who you are. I have no idea, so here we go. The other person I'm going to be dealing with tonight, let me pull this up real quick. I know this is all exciting here. La 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 la. Give me just a moment here. I want to acknowledge this person. The person I wanted to acknowledge was Dorper Systems. Now, this is where Dorper Systems will want to interact with me at this point of the video, because I'm going to be covering some computer terms, and I'm going to give you kind of a basic on this, and then whatever he wants to present after that, that'd be great. Okay? So, anyway, let us begin. I guess this one we won't have to do much of anything. All right, here we go. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight we're going to cover the topic of SDRAM versus DDR-RAM. I know I covered this over a decade ago, but we're going to expand on what I covered in the first video, because some of the information was not only inaccurate, but it was also way too brief. And I wanted to cover a bunch of this with you guys, mainly because you wouldn't know all this stuff. But before I do, I wanted to let you guys know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and I would like for you guys to purchase them. If you are interested in them, let me know. Leave a comment down in the comments below, and I will definitely send you links to the books. Okay, so let's start with a history of computers. In the early days of computers, data had to be retrieved either from paper tape or from magnetic disk. Then the central processing unit, per se, would process this data and store the data either on paper tape or on magnetic disks. Now, if the person operating the computer didn't need the data stored on any media device, he would just tell the computer to print out the data. He could print it up on a big sheet. And if you've ever had a dot matrix printer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's very old technology, and we'll go on. But this kind of data processing was exceedingly slow. First, you had to find the magnetic disk or the paper tape that the source data was stored on. Then you had to install it into the computer. And believe me, on some of those computers, like the ENIAC and the UNIVAC, that was quite a process in itself. Okay? Then you had to tell the computer the location of the media where the data was stored. Okay, because remember, if you're dealing with a magnetic disk or you're dealing with paper tape, it was stored somewhere on the disk, but it wasn't stored on the very edge of it. So you'd say, okay, you had to spin it certain times, then you could find the data that you were looking for. And that could take up to several minutes, depending on how much data is on those disks or on that paper tape. Yeah, try it with hole punch tape and see what happens to you. All right. Now, how did the people who created our modern day computer systems solve this ridiculous problem? Well, they created something called random access memory. The first type of random access memory that they created was called static random access memory. This type of memory used at least 6 transistors to store 1 bit of data. Now, how that was done exactly, I do not know. I'm sure if I did a bit more research, I could probably find out. But anybody like Dorper Systems that wants to expand on that, please do. I'd love to hear about it, okay? And if I ever get some time, maybe I'll do some exploration on this and present that information to you as well. But hopefully Dorper Systems or D. Lukens 9 or somebody else can actually present that stuff to you, and there you go. Now remember, all these transistors, and later on I'm going to be talking about capacitors themselves, operate off of electrons. Electrons enter into them, they leave them. Get it? Okay. And I did cover that in some previous videos, and I will try as best as I can to leave end screens on this particular video so you can click back to those other videos and you can watch them as well. Okay. Now, I do have a link to a web article that further goes into all this, and I'm going to leave it right down here in the description box below. You can go check that out for yourself. Matter of fact, I have not just one, but I actually have 3 of them, 3 video links. Now, unlike static RAM, dynamic RAM pairs transistors with capacitors. Now, how exactly that's done, I've heard that some dynamic RAM pairs 1 transistor to 1 capacitor, and then there's others that pair like 2 or 3 transistors to 1 capacitor. I'm not exactly sure how all that works. You are more than welcome to research the topic. And like I said, if Dorper Systems or D. Lukens 9 want to elaborate on all this, that'd be fantastic. Okay, I'll let them, or I'll maybe someday find out for myself. Okay, electrons pass through the transistors and are stored on capacitors. But the problem with the capacitors is that over a very short period of time, capacitors leak electrons. So capacitors have to be refreshed constantly. In other words, the transistors have to place more electrons into the capacitors in order for the capacitors to retain their storage of data bits. Okay? Because remember, you have bits and you have bytes, and I explained that in a video a long time ago. The main reason to use dynamic RAM is due to the amount of space used by transistors and capacitors. Okay, you don't need as many transistors on your board if you have capacitors. Dynamic RAM usually pairs, well, from what I understood, and if I'm wrong on this, you could go correct me. As far as I know, usually dynamic RAM will pair a transistor with a capacitor. If that information is incorrect, please let me know. Okay. This eliminates the need to use multiple transistors to store single bits of information. Okay. Now then, I'm going to go ahead. If you want to do some research on this, please feel free. Okay. But at this point, I have to return to the main topic of this video. What is the difference between SDRAM and DDRAM? Okay. The acronym SDRAM stands for the word synchronous dynamic random access memory. As you may have guessed already, we are going to discuss the use of dynamic RAM, which uses a pairing of transistors and capacitors. Okay. And I'm going to leave you another web article link down below. You can read that for yourself. Okay. Random access memory chips are divided into rows and columns. That's why you will often hear the term CAS latency. The acronym CAS stands for column access strobe. The words column and access basically describe themselves. Obviously, the computer, when using CAS, is trying to access a column of RAM. How a computer accesses those columns is beyond the scope of this particular video, and I really don't know either, so you can do some research on that too. Okay? So I'm hoping that the information I presented to you so far will help you find out the information you're looking for. Okay? But what does the word latency mean? This involves an exact period of time. A computer will ask the RAM to store or retrieve data. Okay? The amount of time it takes for the RAM to respond to this request is called a latency. You can read more about this. They've got plenty of articles that will describe this as well. I've actually included a link to that particular part of the discussion right down here in the description box. But none of this information I've provided so far answers our burning question. What is the difference between SDRAM and DDRAM? It would be wonderful if dynamic RAM worked at the same clock speed as the CPU of your computer. But in the early days of computers, dynamic RAM didn't always work at the same speed as the CPU of a computer. But thanks to SDRAM, these speeds have been synchronized. At this point, you may be asking a burning question. If the SDRAM works at the same speed of the CPU, which is the most ideal thing you could ever have, then why would you need DDRAM at all? Well, here's the answer. If all you were doing was reading a web article or sending emails, then SDRAM would be the only thing you would ever need. But what if you want to listen to a song or watch a video on your computer? These files contain lots of bytes of data. And if they contain lots of bytes, of course, they're going to contain tons of bits. Therefore, you would need to send and retrieve lots of data. Okay? And that means you're going to need a faster RAM to keep up with all that. And this is why they invented DDRAM. Okay? Now, I will leave the acronym of DDRAM in the description below. Okay? If you're wondering how DDRAM stores and retrieves so much data, then you're welcome to research the topic by reading a bunch of web articles. And there are a lot of them that will describe all this to you. So go ahead and check that out. All right. Why would I tell you any of this? Okay. Because one, very soon I'm going to present a video entitled Peripheral Component Interface. And hopefully I got that right. If I didn't, you are more than welcome to correct me. But I'm going to present a video about that, and this discussion leads into that. Okay, and the second reason is, have you guys heard the latest about Microsoft? Okay, you remember their wonderful operating system? Well, it has been proposed, but not yet enacted, that instead of buying Microsoft Windows one time and you're done, you would pay a monthly fee to have Microsoft's operating system. You don't pay the fee, your computer doesn't work. How you like them apples? Now, this has not been implemented yet. It's just something that's been discussed. But you know Microsoft, if they have some brilliant idea, they might actually try it. Now, for corporations, that might not be such a bad deal, simply for the fact that corporations experience lots of viruses, and they need constant updates to their security. And that would be a good reason for them to pay a monthly fee in order to protect all their computers. However, do you really want to pay a monthly fee to operate your computer? I don't think so. So that is why I am going to start teaching you guys more and more about computers. I'd like to update my old videos and more importantly, go more in depth with the material. And that's why we're going to do this. All righty. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo! Hello, everybody. I'm glad you're sticking around. Now then, we're going to change topics here. Oh, I see a third person in my live stream. Please sign in. Let us know who you are. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, we're going to change our topic from computers to something else. And that something else is how to generate electricity for your house. And I'm going to explain why in just a second. Get ready, folks, because I got a lot to cover with you guys. I've been a busy kid. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover the topic of electrolyte. Why? Because of batteries. But before I do, I wanted to let everybody know that I have published 5 Kindle books. And if you're interested in reading any of those, let me know and I'll send you links. You can let me know in the comments below and I'll send you links to the books. You can buy them. They're $5 a piece. You'll love them. So why would I cover the topic of electrolyte or anything else about renewable energy? Well, here's the main reason why. Okay. For those of you who don't know, a company called Exelon has shut down the Dresden power plant in the northern part of Illinois. They have also shut down the Byron nuclear power plant in the northern part of Illinois. And if you guys know anything about J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, you know that, well, let's just say he may have actually persuaded Exelon to do both of these. We do know for a fact that he just passed legislation that would, shall I say, pressure the coal mine, well, not the coal mines, but the coal power plants that we have all across the state of Illinois, pressure them to shut down too by 2045, if I remember what I saw. Okay, so you got J.B. Pritzker, the current governor of Illinois, pressuring these power plants to shut down. Where are you going to get your power? Good question. Well, I have some answers for you. And this is not the end of it, not by any means. But what we're going to do is I'm going to present this material, and then after each particular video, there's going to be little cards that's going to pop up at the end of the videos, and you can click and you can watch the next video in the series. Okay? And so you can see kind of where I'm going along with this. Now, in this particular video, I am also going to place little squares. One of them will be to the next video in the series. The other one is going to take you to a video entitled Fresnel lens, and that will give you ideas about what you should do with your solar panels. Okay, so I'll let you check that out. I just did a video about Fresnel panels, Fresnel lens, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So anyway, you can watch that presentation. Now, before I define an electrolyte, I have to give you the definition of the word amber. Many people believe that the word amber is a darker shade of yellow. This type of yellow contains a brownish tint. But there is another definition of amber. Amber also happens to be a fossilized tree resin. If you rub this tree resin, you will create static electricity. The Greeks created a word for this static electricity. They call that word is electron. Okay, it's spelled E-L-E-K-T-R-O-N. Does the word electron look familiar to you? Well, if you're looking at the modern word E-L-E-C-T-R-O-N, yeah, it looks very familiar. Okay, the word electrolyte comes from the Greek electron, and the word L-Y-E-I-N means to loosen. So basically, this electrolyte loosens electrons so they can travel from place to place. As I stated in an earlier video when I talked about anode and cathode, electrons, when a battery is being drained of electricity, travel from the anode of the battery to the cathode of the battery. This means that the atoms in the anode part of the battery are losing electrons. This creates an imbalance of protons and electrons in atoms contained in the anode of the battery. It also means that these atoms become positively charged ions. Well, where do these proton ions go? Well, these positive charged ions travel through the electrolyte of a battery between the cathode and anode of the battery. I left a link to a web article that better explains this process in the description of this particular video. You can go check that out for yourself. All right. Now, I got more to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you in this video. So check out the links in the video that I have, this video now, and then I will tell you more in a future video. So I'd like for you to stay tuned. So far, so good. Oh, we only got 2 people in the live stream. That's not good. Anyway, hopefully they'll come back. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted, the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to discuss the topics of amplitude and acoustics. Okay. And before I do, I'm going to tell everybody that I have published 5 Kindle books. If you're interested in buying any of them, they're only $5 a piece. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll send you a link. Okay, let's go on. What is an amplitude? The etymology of the word amplitude is as follows. The word comes from the Latin word amplus, which means large or abundant. What does the word modulation mean? When in a song you change the musical key from one note to another, you modulate the musical key. When you alter the pitch of your voice while you're singing or just talking, you are modulating your voice. Another term you need to know is acoustic. The word comes from the Greek word acoustos, which means something that is heard or something that is audible. In other words, this word means something that has to do with the science of sound. All of this information will lead to a discussion of thermal acoustics. Please stay tuned for my upcoming videos. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo! Are we hanging in there, folks? Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted, the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover the topic of sinusoidal. And if I mispronounced that, I am sorry. You can look at the title of the video. You'll see the word. And I'm just going to briefly cover this because you need to know what it is. And then it will lead to some other topics that we're going to discuss very soon. Okay? This word comes from the Latin word sinus, which means to bend, or it can mean a curve, and the Greek suffix eidos, which means some kind of a form. The meaning of this word was extended in the Middle Ages thanks to the field of medicine. It started to include the meaning of any hollow cavity of the human body. That's why your nose has 2 sinuses. And all of this leads to the math term sine. Okay? Ever heard of sine, cosine, tangent? You remember those trig identity videos I did a long time ago? Well, there you go. Okay? You may want to review those trigonometry videos before you watch my next set of videos. All right. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Oh, we got 4 people, or 3. Well, we had 4. Now it's 3. That's great. So sign in. Let me know who you are. I'd love to hear from you. Good evening, everyone. This is going to be a very quick video. The title of this video is Resonance, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this particular video. And before I do, I wanted to let everybody know that I published 5 Kindle books, and if you're interested in any of them, you are more than welcome to let me know in the comments below, and I'll leave you a link to those particular books. All right, let's continue with this. What is the word resonance? The word resonance comes from the Latin verb resonare, which means to echo. So if you're ever in the Grand Canyon, you want to shout out, you're going to get an echo, and that's resonance. Okay? So basically, that's what it means. I told you this was going to be an extremely short video. All right. Stay tuned because I have some more information to present to you guys, and I'm sure you're going to be looking forward to it. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted, the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to start a 3-part video series on the topic of thermal acoustics. Okay, so here we go. Before I do, though, I wanted to let everybody know that I published 5 Kindle books. If you're interested in any of them, you are more than welcome to leave me a comment in the comments down below. With that all out of the way, by the way, the books are $5 a piece. If you want to know, there you go. With all that out of the way, let's get into the topic, shall we? Basically, this is the process of converting sound waves into heat energy, but I will be a bit more technical in this particular video. Let's begin with an illustration. Have you ever played a flute? The flute is designed to take sound from your lungs and turn it into an audible music. This is done by the design of the flute. You can research this topic by reading this particular web article, and I'll leave a link down here in the description below. If you can create a flute with a PVC pipe, you can also create heat with just the sound and a PVC pipe. And I have now left a link to a video which describes this process. It's right down here below. Now, at this point, I wanted to talk about something called convection. Let's say you decide to drink some hot chocolate. So you place cold water in a kettle. When you heat the bottom of the kettle, the water at the bottom of the kettle becomes hot. The water also becomes less dense as it travels to the top of the kettle. I'm going to illustrate this right now. Okay. Da-da-dee-dee-dee-dee. Where do those? Ah, yes, there we go. All right. Let's illustrate this, shall we? We're going to start. I'm just going to make a bowl here. Okay. We're going to make a little flame down here. Okay. All right. Let me illustrate this. Let's just suppose hypothetically that that's your tea kettle and that's your heat. Okay. Heat is going to rise just like this. And then your cold air is going to come from the top and go straight down to the bottom. Now, eventually, all of this is going to get heated up. But your heat's going to go up, your cold water is going to go down. All right? Now, this is kind of the same thing if you're talking about convection with acoustics. Okay? And we'll get into that in just a second. All right. So, that's why it takes a while for a tea kettle to produce you enough hot water to drink hot chocolate. Okay? The same effect can be observed in hot air balloons. Remember, the air inside the hot air balloon is actually warmer than the air outside of it. So what does the hot air balloon do? It rises right into the sky. Okay? So how can we use these facts to generate heat? Well, I'm going to cover that topic in part 2 and part 3 of this particular series of videos. So I'd like for you to stay tuned because there's plenty more to coming up. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. How are we doing so far? Okay. Well, let's keep going. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight's topic will be the rotating helix. Okay. And before I cover this, I would like to let everybody know that I published 5 Kindle books. And if you're interested in any of them, please let me know in the comments below. And for $5, they could be yours. I'll send you links to them, and you can read them for yourself. Okay. So what is a rotating helix? Well, before I can define a rotating helix, I have to discuss what a helix is. What is it? I will start this discussion by asking you to pause this video, go find a screw, any screw, I don't care what screw it is, and then I want you to come back here and take a look at the threads on the screw. Okay? Because I don't know if you want to use your imagination or not, but some of you don't want to use your imagination. So go grab a screw and then come back here, turn the video back on, and look at the threads on the screw. The threads on the screw form a helix. Now, notice that the threads of the screw are wrapped around the screw. The part of the screw that the threads are wrapped around is called the axis of the helix. Okay. The next thing I want you to notice is that the width of the threads on the screw. The width is called the diameter of the helix. All right. Another thing I want you to observe is the number of turns of the threads of the screw. The final thing I want you to notice is the points between the threads on the screw. The distance between 2 points on a helix is called a pitch. This one I will illustrate. Okay? So, what you have here, you have the start of the helix here. Okay. This is the beginning of a helix, right here. You see there was a point taken here and a point taken there. The distance between these 2 points is the pitch of the helix. Now, if you were to imagine, say, the coils on a bed mattress, and you press those 2 rings together, they would form a perfect circle. That means, okay, if you take 2 points on a helix, you would create a straight line. That straight line would be the circumference of a circle. And this information can help you calculate the angle of a helix. That's right. You can calculate all kinds of angles, because what you'd have is, when you take the 2 points, you take these 2 points and you sandwich them together, you actually form a circle. And if you form a circle, you can do all the angles and everything else. You can do trigonometry or something like this. Literally. Okay, that's why they have helix angles. All right. Why is all this important? Well, you just keep watching my videos and you'll find out. All right. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. How are we doing? So far, so good? All right. Oops. Guess I better continue. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to continue my video series on thermal acoustics. Okay, this is part 2. And before I do, I want to tell everybody that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if you're interested in any of them, you are more than welcome to leave a comment down here in the comments below, and I'll send you a link to those books. You can buy them and you can take a look at them, okay? But without any further ado, let's continue. In a previous video, I showed you what a helix looks like. Now I will tell you how this information will apply to thermal acoustics. Sound waves are based on air pressure. Sound waves create points where air particles are compressed together. At other points, air particles are spread out. The areas where air particles are compressed together are called compressions of sound. The areas where air particles are spread out are called rarefactions. Where did the term rarefaction come from? Okay, the word rarefaction comes from the Latin word rarus, which means rare, and the Latin word facere, which means to make or produce. And in this case, we are creating low air pressure when we spread out air particles. When we create air compressions and air rarefactions, we create sound waves. When you place a heating element in a specific position inside a PVC pipe, it will create a continuous standing sound wave. This creates the helix that I mentioned earlier. Now, what kind of helix are we talking about? You're talking about a rotating helix? Well, let me show you what a rotating helix is going to look like. Do you remember when I talked about parabolas and Pappas Book 7, Proposition 238? Yeah. Bet you should check that out right now. Okay, so what you have here is your pipe. And when you start generating sound waves, this center dot right here is going to start forming a rotating helix. Okay, when you start generating sound waves, that's going to form a rotating helix. And what's going to happen is that these two curves, which should look like a parabola, okay, will turn around like a screw. Okay, it'll turn. Okay. Now, a standing sound wave starts at a fixed point. Then it travels to another fixed point. So in other words, a sound wave starts at a stereo speaker and it goes to the other end of a pipe and then it gets reflected back. Okay. And when this reflection happens back and forth, that's a standing sound wave. Okay. So let's imagine the crest of a sound wave traveling from one fixed point to a second fixed point. Okay. Now, by the way, there is a link to a video in the description of this video that will show this a lot better than I will. So please check that out. Okay. Now, this is not going to be a perfect drawing. There you go, sound waves. Okay. Now, what is the crest of a sound wave? Well, let me erase this for a second. The crest of the sound wave is going to be right about here. Okay. Now then. So this sound wave, the crest of it's going to move across here and eventually it's going to reach the other side. Now you have to imagine the crest of a reflected sound wave traveling from the second fixed point to the first one. So, okay, here's your reflected sound wave. The crest would be right about here. Okay. Now then, this sound wave and this reflecting sound wave meet at this fixed point. And this is where you're going to start getting your helix. Okay. Now, if you need a real illustration of standing sound waves, you should take a guitar and pluck one of the strings, and you'll see it for yourself. So far, so good. But how is any of this information going to produce heat? Well, the first thing you have to know is that when you compress air, guess what? It generates heat. So that's a good clue as to how we're going to do this. Okay. Now, we know that in this particular tube, we were using heat to generate a sound wave. Okay. Now, we also know that by convection, if you watch the video that we got linked down here below, if you watch that, you will see that as heat rises through the pipe, what's underneath is cold air. That's what you can use for your air conditioning. Interesting. But this is not done. Okay, so I'm going to tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. All right. DK Band ZZ said, "Hey, brother, I hope you're having a great day. Sorry to ask, but have you had an IQ test? And if so, what was your score?" We might cover that in a later video. And then Survival on a Budget Made Easy says, "DK Band ZZ, are you asking me?" More likely, this guy is asking me. We shall find out. All right. Let's go on. Good evening, everybody. It's once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover the topic of fundamental frequency. But before I do, I wanted to let you guys know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if you're interested in buying any of them, they're $5 a piece. Just leave me a message down here in the comments below, and I'll send you a link. You can read them for yourself. Okay, let's just get into this, shall we? What is a fundamental frequency? Let's start with the etymology of the word fundamental. The word fundamental comes from the Latin word fundare, which means to find or something that is found. This actually leads to the word foundation, which you will find at the bottom of most houses. In an earlier video, I discussed the frequency of a sound wave. Don't believe me? You can go check out my earlier videos. Therefore, the lowest resonant frequency that any musical instrument produces is the fundamental frequency. All right, that does it for this particular video. It's a little short, but we'll go on. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. This is the third and final part of my thermal acoustics video series. And we're going to finish up our little discussion here. Let's start with this. Let's start this discussion. Before we do that, though, I wanted to let you know that I have published 5 Kindle books. If you're interested in any of them, let me know in the comments below, and I will send you a link to those books, and you can buy them. They're $5 a piece. All right, let's go on here. Let's start this discussion with reviewing the term fundamental frequency and how this would apply to stereo speakers. Stereo speakers, as you should have guessed, produce sound waves. If you attach a stereo speaker to a tube and close off the other end of the tube, you will be able to reflect sound waves. The sound wave would travel from the speaker to the end of the tube. The piece you use to seal the end of the tube will reflect the sound wave back to the speaker. This process will continue until the stereo speaker stops sending sound waves to the other end of the tube. The last thing I will teach you in this lesson is that compressed air generates heat. So if you can generate sound waves and cause these sound waves to compress air, you will generate a lot of heat. Then you can implement convection to your heat compression. You can create cooler air that can be used for air conditioning. And again, I have to say there is a video link in the description of this video if you want to watch that. Thanks for watching this particular video, and feel free to leave me any comment you wish. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. All right. All right. Survival on a Budget Made Easy says, mine was 130. I have an uncle in the 200 club. Good to hear. All right. I'm going to do a very brief intermission. When I come back, I'm going to tell you about sand batteries, and you need to hear this as well. Be right back. Sorry about the interruption, folks. Okay. Couldn't be helped. I'm going to take a drink, and we're going to continue on. Okay. Are you ready? Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted, the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover the topic of a sand battery. Okay? Now then, what is a sand battery? I'm going to answer that in this video tonight, but before I do, I wanted to let everybody know that I published 5 Kindle books, and you are welcome to read any of them. And if you want to read these Kindle books, leave me a comment in the comment below. I will send you a link, and you can start reading them. They're $5 a piece. Enjoy. In the meantime, a sand battery, if constructed properly, can be used to heat rooms in your home. But before I discuss methods on how this could be done, I first have to show you ways to obtain heat from objects other than your municipal electric company. Now, do you recall when I did the video about the Fresnel lens and the heat sink, and I told you to use that with your solar panels? Okay, when you use a Fresnel lens, it makes sure that no matter where the sun is in the sky, you're still going to get power from your solar battery, your solar panel, okay, your solar cell. And what happens is that your solar panel is going to get hot, real red hot, okay? It can get so hot it can set your house on fire. We don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is going to put a heat sink, or as this case would be, a bunch of small pipes on the back of your solar panel. And the heat is going to be transferred from the solar panel to these pipes. And what we're going to do is going to fill up these pipes. And I think the best thing to fill it up with is antifreeze. But if you figure out something else to fill it up, great. I'd love to hear from it. But anyway, whether you use antifreeze or something else, you have to transfer the heat from the solar panel to what's inside those pipes so you can get that out of your solar panel. Okay. Now, my idea would be, hypothetically speaking, to have the solar panel heat up, and the heat would go to the pipes, it hit the antifreeze would then go through a series of pipes that would actually go into sand and heat up the sand. And I'll tell you why it should heat up the sand. Here we go. All right. Now, I'm sure the Survival on a Budget Made Easy could come up with some brilliant idea to get the heat from the solar panel to those pipes, to what's in those pipes, and on into the sand battery. Love to hear what he has to come up with on that. And if anybody else wants to come up with some brilliant ideas, I'd love to hear from them. Now, could you generate heat from sound waves? Well, I already talked about that in some previous videos about thermal acoustics. So yes, you can. So you can generate from the sound waves too. If you can get that into some antifreeze and send that off into the sand battery, you're good. Okay. So what items do you need to construct a sand battery? Well, obviously you're going to need some sand. The darker, the better, because lighter sand reflects heat for some reason. Okay, now you could, I don't know how successful you'd be, you could go to a junkyard, get a bunch of broken glass, ground that glass and turn it right back into sand. There you go. You got practically free sand there. Of course, you'd have to find some kind of device that could ground the glass up so thin that it would become sand again. That's something you may want to look into. Okay, so you have a supply of sand at last. Maybe you have some broken glass you've never used before. Well, there you go. Now you have a use for it. You'll need some kind of a sealed container. Remember, you've got to make sure that the heat stays within the container. You don't want it to get out once it gets into the sand. Even though sand will release heat slowly, you want to keep it in the sand as long as you possibly can until you're ready to use it. Okay? Usually you wouldn't want to use the heat from a sand battery until you were at night when it gets really, really cold. Okay? That's when you want to use it. All right. So now you have the sand. You have some kind of container that you can keep the sand in. Now, you also have to have a layer on the outside of the container because you're going to make the sand really, really hot, about, say, 500-600 degrees. The reason for that is because if the sand dissipates the heat slowly, it's going to produce you some heat for a long period of time, but you're going to get the sand really, really hot to do that. Okay? So you want the inside of the container to contain the heat inside the container, and then the outside of it would be something that would keep your hands from being burnt while you carry the container around. Get the picture? Okay. Now, the next thing you'd want to do is you'd want to attach a thermostat and a spigot to this container. Why? Because you'd want to only release some of that heat out of that container until your room got warm enough. I mean, you don't want to turn your room into a 600-degree furnace, obviously, but you want to release some of that heat, and then you want to turn it off, which means you seal the spigot, causing the heat to stay inside until you're ready to turn it back on. And you'll need a thermostat because you're going to tell the thermostat at a certain point, open the spigot. Otherwise, keep it shut. That's what you're going to do. So, how does this sand retain the heat? Well, when the molecules of sand are compressed together, they will retain heat. That means if you stuff heat between the compressed sand molecules, you'll basically create a sand battery. The object is to stuff as much heat as you can between the molecules of the sand. Also keep in mind that sand doesn't release heat, that it collects quickly. So it can store heat for lengthy periods of time. If you have ever been on a beach at sunset, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, it is true that sand does eventually release heat. That's why you need a hermetically sealed container so that you can keep the heat inside of it until you're ready to use it. This would force the sand to retain its heat until you're ready to use it, obviously. You would probably have to construct a double layer container. Like I said, the inner layer would keep the heat in. The outer layer would protect your hands so you could transport the sand battery to wherever you needed it and then open the spigot. Okay? Probably the best thing to do on something like that is to make an inner layer for the box containing the sand and then put fiberglass insulation around and then seal it up with an outer layer so that the fiberglass would keep the heat inside the container and keep your hands safe on the outside. But if Survival at a Budget Made Easy has a better recommendation, I'm all ears. Okay? All right. And that's basically how that would work. All right. I will be more than welcome and thrilled to present you some more information in a future video, so I would like for you to stay tuned. All right. Lisa's here, and she says, hello, Ted. Hello, Lisa. I'm glad you could join us. All right. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover the topic of axially graded index lenses. And if you've never heard of something like that, well, we're going to tell you about that. But before I do, I'm going to tell you guys that I have 5 Kindle books, and if you want to read any of them, leave me a comment in the comments section below, and I'll be more than happy to send you a link to those books. All right. So let's get into this, shall we? Why do solar panels only produce 22% output at their maximum? Well, there's a good reason for that. When the sun directly hits the solar panel, that's when it generates electricity. But if the sun is at an angle to the solar panel, well, you can forget about that electricity. It just goes away. Okay? And that is why that happens. So what is the answer to that problem? Well, my first answer was in the term Fresnel lens, which I covered in a previous video, but we got a better answer in this one. Okay? Solar panels also don't collect all of the light spectrum that the sun pours on the earth when the sun is shining. How can people like myself solve that problem? Well, we need to create something called an axially graded index lens. What is an axially graded index lens? Well, I'm going to show you what one looks like. If you have ever eaten a chunky candy bar, you will recognize the shape almost immediately. If not, well, you should grab yourself a chunky candy bar because it's going to look a lot like that. Okay? And it's going to have layers. Something like this. That is an axially graded index lens, or at least a drawing of it. And you're going to put a bunch of these on your solar panel. When you do, it won't matter where the sun is in the sky, its light's still going to strike the solar panel. Okay? Now, why the different layers? Because they collect different parts of the light spectrum. Okay? Each layer is going to collect at different part of the light spectrum. And then it's going to reflect, it's going to bounce around in this prism before it hits your solar panel. That means you're going to get a lot more electricity out of your solar panel than you thought. Another advantage of these axially graded index lenses is that they can actually collect light that is normally scattered by rain clouds. So a cloudy day won't affect how much light you can collect from these lenses. I did try to find a very specific web article that would detail the materials that would be used in the making of these lenses. Unfortunately, I was not able to find such a website. But if you guys find one, leave it down here in the comments below. I'll read it and I'll share it with everyone. I'd love to do that. All right. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Anyway, how we doing, everybody? Are we learning something yet? Bet you are. By the way, when I make these little mini videos as they pop up from day to day, and they will, you can rewind them, fast forward around them, do whatever you want with them, and learn something. Okay? Because you may have to hear what I say repeated more than once, and you can do that all the time you want. All right. Let's go on. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover the topic of the passive cooling system. If you have never heard of this, that's great because I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. But before I do, I wanted to let everybody know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and you can purchase any of them. They're $5 a piece. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested, and I'll send you a link. All right. Let's go into this, shall we? Can you air condition your house without using tons of electricity? Well, obviously, I've shown in previous videos that you can. In this video, I will show you what you can attach to your air conditioner to keep your power bills low. You will need 3 layers to create this kind of air conditioning. The first layer would normally involve a substance called aerogel. This substance is considered an insulator and a sponge. It has pores just like a sponge, but these pores are really, really, really teeny tiny. You can't see them without a microscope. Okay? Hot air has a difficult time passing through tiny holes like this. That's why aerogel makes the first layer of this kind of air conditioning. Now, if you don't have or can't make aerogel the way they want you to do it in the traditional way, you can substitute it with a slightly less efficient thing called cellulose nanocrystals. Say, what the heck is a cellulose nanocrystals? Now, one material that can be used to form these cellulose nanocrystals is marshmallows. But there's a trick to this, okay? Yes, you can make marshmallows. You can actually put them in a microwave, and you can make them into the shape that you need them to be. But you've got to have them in a mold, and you got to keep them in that mold because they have to be shaped very specifically in order for them to work the way you want them to, okay? Marshmallows are made of gelatin, and marshmallows are full of air. If you cook marshmallows in a microwave, they will inflate, which is something you want. But there's a slight problem using marshmallows as your first layer of insulation. It doesn't retain a proper shape, so therefore you're going to have to put it in a mold and keep it a shape. So you will have to create a mold to shape the marshmallows and keep them in the mold, because as soon as you pop them out, boom, they're going to have their own shape. The marshmallow mold has to be placed on top of another layer for all of this to work. You're going to have a second layer called a hydrogel, which is going to be full of water. As you have already guessed, this layer will be filled with water. If heat travels past the marshmallow aerogel, it's going to hit this hydrogel, and the water in it's going to evaporate. And it's going to send the heat up, not down. Okay? And the heat's going to travel through the marshmallow aerogel and out into the atmosphere. But this apparatus, of course, has a third layer. Yep, you're like, 3 layers? Really? And that's why you have to use a mold to shape the marshmallow aerogel. The final layer of this apparatus is a mirror-like base. So, if heat can make it past the aerogel and the hydrogel, it's going to hit this metal piece, and it's going to reflect back up in the atmosphere. Okay, I have included a link in the description of this video describing this in a more thorough way. You are well welcome to watch the video, and you'll learn a lot more than what I've just told you. Okay? Anyway, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Are we learning yet? I bet we are now. All right, we're going to cover one more topic on renewable energy, and then we're going to get into something else. Okay, you ready? Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to present the topic of graphene. What is graphene? Well, you're about to find out. But before you do, I'd like to let you know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if you're interested in purchasing any of these Kindle books, leave me a comment down here in the comments below, and I will send you a link, and you can buy them. All right. Here we go. If you attended school in the latter half of the 20th century, you would be familiar with pencils made out of a material called graphite. Anyone who used these pencils to complete school assignments may think that graphite and graphene are the exact same thing. Graphite is derived from, graphene is derived from graphite. Okay, so they are very similar materials, but they're not exactly the same. I'll explain this as I continue this presentation. The first thing I have to do is introduce you to a person. The name of this person is Sir Benjamin Collins Brodie. He was a British physiologist, and he performed surgeries during his career. He worked as a surgeon at St. George's Hospital in London, England. Sir Benjamin Collins Brodie wrote a book entitled Pathological and Surgical Observations on the Diseases of the Joints. He carefully examined tissues that form joints to try to determine the early onset of joint diseases. He probably had a unique understanding of arthritis. Sir Benjamin Collins Brodie also became the president of an organization called the Royal Society. Now, what's the Royal Society? Well, this particular society was created in 1660. This society was and still is comprised of a group of people who are experts in science and medicine. So why do you have to know so much about this guy? Well, it's mainly due to his son. And his son, if he was living here in the United States, would be called Sir Benjamin Collins Brodie Jr. However, because he was born in Great Britain instead of the United States, his name became Sir Benjamin Collins Brodie II Baronet. And if you want to know anything about baronets, you can look them up. Okay? So, what did this Sir Benjamin Collins Brodie II Baronet create? Well, he was an expert in chemistry. In his early career, he studied beeswax and presented a research paper to a university in the town of Gießen, which is located in Germany. He won some awards for this particular research. But later in his career, he discovered graphite acid. He thoroughly described the lamellar structure of thermally reduced graphite oxide. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, let's go on. The word lamellar, and if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, please correct me, comes from the Latin word lamina. Ever heard of a laminate? There you go. Now, this lamina means some kind of a thin plate. Have you ever laminated something? There you go. So in this case, someone has formed a thin plate of graphite oxide by using heat. But we still don't know the whole story about graphene. Because graphene is what we're looking for, not graphite. Now, I have to introduce you to two more people. The name of the first person is Peter Debye, and the name of the second person is Paul Scheer. Both of these gentlemen lived in Germany in the early 20th century. They developed something called powder diffraction. Like, what the heck is powder diffraction? Well, let's get into that. The word diffraction comes from the Latin prefix dis, which means apart or to separate, and the Latin verb frangere, which means to break. So you're literally breaking things apart. Peter Debye and Paul Scheer used X-rays to eradicate a fine powder of various solids. This technique was used on graphite. It is this discovery that led to the discovery of the structure of graphite. But this was not the end of the story. Shortly after World War II, a man by the name of P.R. Wallace developed a theory. He theorized that a substance called graphene actually existed. The invention of the electron microscope led to the confirmation of P.R. Wallace's theory. Graphene is only one atom thick, but it's very, very strong. It can be used for many things. But I will discuss graphene in batteries in this particular video. Now, you got to keep in mind that graphene is not only very, very strong, but it's also flexible. That makes it ideal for batteries. If you owned an electron microscope, you would be able to see a layer of graphene. Layers of graphene look like a honeycomb. That material can conduct electricity. That means it can send electrons from one point to another. It can also send heat from one point to another. So graphene definitely has its uses. Graphene is very flexible, but it's also very strong. It also has a very low atomic mass. That means if you had enough layers of graphene, you could easily carry them in your pocket. Ooh. Graphene can store electricity just like a capacitor can, but layers of graphene can be charged very quickly, and they can discharge electricity also very quickly. Graphene can also store electricity, and it can store it safely. That's because it can disperse thermal energy. So it sends the thermal energy out, and then you collect it for somehow, and you ship it somewhere else. And you have a fan around the graphene. The graphene sends the heat up, and the fan sends it on its way. Okay. The only downside to graphene is that due to its size, it's difficult to produce graphene inexpensively. I want you to research this topic further. And feel free to leave me comments about your thoughts on this topic in the comments section of this video. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Well, what have you guys learned so far? I'd love to hear from you. Let's continue. We are all done with everything I'm going to present about renewable energy. However, in my next presentation, I will talk about salt batteries, and we'll talk about sodium and how it's connected to lithium and so on and so forth. So that'll be something for you guys to look forward to. But anyway, now you can generate heat with sound, with sand batteries, with a Fresnel lens, and more importantly, you can use aerogel for air conditioning, and you can use graphene for your batteries. Now you know all that. Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and now I'm going to continue my review of Danica McKellar's book, Math Doesn't Suck. So, what did Danica McKellar present in this particular presentation? Well, let's get into it, shall we? If you look carefully at the cover of this math book, you will see that the layout of the cover looks like the cover of a supermarket magazine. And I'm going to show you that right now. See that? Doesn't that look like the cover of a supermarket magazine? Now, Danica McKellar brings up this topic at the beginning of this chapter. Okay. During this discussion, Danica McKellar emphasizes the word rate. If I had written the same book, I would have emphasized the word loan. Am I the only person in the world who remembers the simple interest principle? Am I the only one who remembers how to calculate the simple interest principle? Instead, Danica McKellar illustrates her topic with magazine subscriptions, pregnancy rates, like any young lady should be concerned with pregnancy rates, and cardiovascular rates. As we have slowly reached the year 2023, what young lady rushes out to subscribe to a magazine? Not as many as you like to think. So bringing up this topic may become a moot point, and self-esteem as well as education can significantly drop pregnancy rates amongst young ladies. But what about cardiovascular health? That could be a very important topic as we slowly move away from our current pandemic. Of course, I think Danica McKellar should have mentioned Marie Curie. Why? Because Marie Curie did some research on a product called pitch blende. Maybe Danica McKellar could have elaborated on the rate of decay of pitch blende. That would have enlightened many of her future students. But of course, I digress on this particular point. If the true definition of the mathematical term rate is a comparison of two different but somehow related quantities. Danica McKellar does mention the different quantities in her book, but I didn't see her mention I didn't see any mention of the word related in her definition of the word rate. Okay. Now, what do I mean by different but related quantities? Okay. Now, obviously, if you have to travel from point A to point B and you had to walk the whole distance, it's going to take you an awful lot of time. But what if you could travel the same distance from point A to point B in a car? Not going to take you nearly as long. So that's where they came up with, when it comes to cars, miles per hour. Okay. So that's something I will be covering here. Now, what if you want to know the rate of decay of pitch blende? Well, you would compare rate of decay with the pitch blende. Okay. I'm going to continue my review at this point. Danica McKellar does include a statement that emphasizes the importance of including measurements in rate equations. So in other words, what she does, and Euclid very much discourages, if you don't believe me, you can look at my videos from Euclid Book 10. This is all about ratios. What Danica McKellar does is you have then you would stick the number of miles here and the number of hours here. Okay. Now this looks like a fraction here, but if we're to do this the Euclid way, which is the way he wanted it done, you would have that instead. Okay. Because this is actually proper calculus notation for a ratio, in case you didn't know. Okay. So why include the measurements like I did? Okay. The reason is that these are different units of measurements. You're not measuring the same way when you measure distance as you would be in measuring time. So you have to be very specific. This is about a measurement of distance. This is about a measurement of time. That kind of thing. All right, let's go into a problem to illustrate all this. Okay. So we're going to suppose that you have 10 ham sandwiches. And you're going to have 20 friends. $10 to $20. Okay. What you'd want to do is you'd want to reduce this to 1 to 2. As long as you have not reached the lowest common factor between two numbers, you can do this. So basically, you have one full ham sandwich for every two of your friends. Okay. And the ratio would actually be written by like this. Look familiar? Should, because that's the way Euclid would want it written. Okay. So, what if you wanted to give each one of your friends a sandwich? Well, you just divide the 10 sandwiches in half and give each friend a half a sandwich. That would be nice. Okay. So, the next thing Danica McKellar does is she introduces the concept of a unit rate. She is correct in stating that all unit rate ratios are formed with one side of the ratio being one unit. For instance, you could have a unit rate ratio of the number of steps you take in a race for every minute that passes. Okay, so you would have steps per minute. You can have that. And the same thing is true if you're doing miles per hour, as long as your hour is only 1 hour. Okay. That's why your cars can go up to 55, 60 miles an hour. Okay. The hour doesn't change. It's just the number of miles that you travel changes. In a unit rate ratio, one side of the ratio will also be one of some kind of a unit. So if you're going to write this type of notation, this is going to stay as 1. This would change. Okay. Now, if you wanted to write it as a fraction, it would be the denominator of a fraction. For elementary mathematics, I guess that'd be perfectly fine. But if you're going to go into Euclidean math, I suggest writing it the alternate way. If a doctor is trying to determine your current cardiovascular health, he might measure the number of heartbeats per minute. Okay, the minute would never change, your number of heartbeats would. Have you ever paid attention to a sales tag in a supermarket? At first glance, you will see a can of soup and a price on the shelf for that can of soup. But you may also see a unit price. That unit price is actually a unit ratio. Okay. Danica McKellar also states that one side of a ratio doesn't have to be a whole number. Let's say you have a 10-speed bicycle. You decide to figure out how many miles per hour you're trying to ride. You're able to ride along a long bike trail at your fastest speed. So you use a stopwatch or even your smartphone to determine when to stop riding your bicycle. Then you would attach an odometer to your bicycle. This odometer would keep track of the number of miles you ride. So let's say you were able to travel 3.75 miles for every hour you ride. So your unit rate equation would look like this. Stand by. Again, I would stress that the right side over here would be a single unit, like 1 hour or 1 minute or whatever. That would stay as one. It'd be one jelly bean for all I care. But anyway, as long as it stays one, you're all right. Then Danica McKellar includes a profound statement that was sent to her by one of her fans. This fan states that intelligent young ladies make great friends. That's entirely possible. However, I would add that not all intelligent young ladies qualify for ideal friendships. Some intelligent young ladies are also narcissistic and avaricistic. So I would be very careful about trying to find a intelligent friend. Okay? Especially if they're a girlfriend. If you pick the correct intelligent young lady, then they can supply you with very brilliant ideas to solve very tough problems. In modern math books, ratios are presented as fractions. But as you are well aware from watching all my Euclid videos, Euclid discouraged this practice because he didn't consider ratios as simple fractions. You will find no mention of this fact in any chapter of Danica McKellar's Math Doesn't Suck book. Danica McKellar is correct in stating that any words in a word problem that follow the word per should be regarded as the right side, or as she states, the denominator of a ratio. So if you're seeing a word problem and you actually stumble onto the word per, most likely you're going to have a ratio, and the right side of the ratio should be whatever is described after the word per. Danica McKellar also correctly states that anyone with a southern accent will often pronounce the word pretty as the word purdy. She uses this southern accent as a mnemonic device. I agree with that mnemonic device. I think it's a brilliant idea. Now, I will take a moment to analyze the math problems she presented in her book. The first involves a poorly maintained school bus. I attended a rural school. There were 64 other people that graduated with me. As you can see, each graduating class at my high school was rather small. I can't imagine any of my instructors who would be willing to drive any of my peers or myself to any destination due to a class field trip. If you ever attended a school where the instructors would be willing to drive students to any destination due to a class field trip, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. All right. Now, I wonder how Danica McKellar defines a really cute t-shirt. And you may ask yourself what attire you would pair your t-shirts with. Would you purchase attire that you would pair your when you buy the t-shirts, would you purchase attire that you would pair with those t-shirts? And if you did, would you be really saving any money? In the next math problem, Danica McKellar mentions hamburger meat. How lean was the meat? In what recipe was the hamburger meat going to be used? The next math problem involves track practice. What material is the track made out of? How did the young lady in the math problem maintain her electrolyte health? What brand of shoes was this young lady wearing? And what weather conditions was this young lady running in? Now, the next one involves a charity car wash. What brand of cars were the young adults washing? How long did it take them to wash the cars? What detergent were they using to wash the cars? That'd make the story more interesting. I'll skip the water bottle math problem. There wasn't enough details in that thing for me to examine and question. The final math problem involves a ribbon and a photo album. What color ribbon did this young lady choose? What was the denier of the ribbon? How many pages are in the photo album? I think we'd like to know that. Danica McKellar ends this chapter of her book by discussing her trip to the country of Bulgaria. Danica McKellar is correct to point out that shopping centers in foreign nations aren't the same as they are here in the United States. That's because people in those lands may or may not like the products that we sell here. Some of these foreign shopping centers sell items that you cannot find in the United States, and some items that are sold in the United States cannot be found in a foreign shopping center. When it comes to items that you store in your bathroom, you usually don't pay attention to how much of each product that you use. That's because you assume you can always purchase more of the product at your convenience store. But there may be reasons to determine how much of each product you use. One very good reason is if you suddenly develop an allergy to one of these products. Then any information about how much product you use could be shared with your physician. But there may be other reasons to consider how much a product you use. What would happen if a company discontinued the product you were used to using? Or what would happen if the price of the product suddenly increased? At this point, I've given anyone who is watching my video a lot of things to think about. I hope you learned something new today. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo. Okay. Let's see. Survival on a Budget Made Easy says, MIT talks about storing heat. And then he says, okay, buddy, I've got to get some sleep. Have a good night. You have a wonderful evening. I will see you soon. You can watch the rest of this video whenever you're ready. Thank you for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyway, let's get going, shall we? This video response is going to go out to Barry Manilow, and that is because you uploaded a music video entitled This One's For You. It originally was a song back in the 1970s, and I have listened to the song for years, and more importantly, I have actually watched your music video. I have some questions about your song, and I decided to go ahead and ask them here. All right. Before I do, though, I wanted to let everybody know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if you guys are interested in purchasing any of my Kindle books, you are more than welcome to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will send you a link to those books, and you can purchase them anytime you like and read them. Okay, so the questions about this song. Why do you think this song will not sell? Why do you think this song doesn't sell? Why do you think that nobody around would ever understand what you wrote in the song? And why can't you sing the song well? Why do you sing this song every night if you can't sing it well? I know that in your concerts you say this song was for your grandfather, but many people who heard this 40 to 50 years ago probably assumed that the song was about a musician that either faced a bitter divorce or sadly lost a lifetime partner. That's kind of where I was going when I first heard the song. Okay. What other songs did this musician sing? Do you think this musician ever found the person that he created the song for? What things does this musician have? What things does this musician miss? What things should this musician have said? Does this musician think that the person being described in this song ever heard the musician singing the song? Now, what do I think of the song? Well, when I first heard it, back about 45, 50 years ago, it was a wonderful song. And I was thrilled by it. I actually really thought highly of it. Okay. The piano is well blended with the violins and the background singers. Okay. So this song, if you really hear it well, it can actually make you cry. Okay. The only negative thing I found about this particular song is that it's just too short. Should have been stretched out a bit. Sounds good though. Okay. I would have preferred a longer playing song, but what the hey. We get what we get. But here's the problem. It's now been many years since that song has been published, and Barry Manilow sings it live. Now, you say, what's the problem there? Well, the thing is that he sings it out of key. Why would you do that? Give me a break. What's next? You're going to repaint the Mona Lisa? What's next? You're going to repaint the Sistine Chapel? Some songs are better left the way they were. You don't remake them just because you don't want to sing it in a particular key anymore. It's a beautiful song. You should have just left it alone, but oh well. So, the original song that I heard about 45, 50 years ago, I give it an A+. But for the times that you've sung it in concert recently, where you have sung it out of tune, I give that out of tune business a solid F. All right. If you are not Barry Manilow and you're watching this video right now, feel free to go over to Barry Manilow's YouTube channel, watch his videos, rate his videos, comment on his videos, subscribe to his channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell him that the Speed Learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo! I know you're sitting there going, he's not done. Oh, no. I told you this was going to be a very long live stream. But we're getting closer. A lot closer. This video response is going to go out to the band known as Aqua, and that's because you guys uploaded a music video entitled Barbie Girl. I have watched the music video, I have listened to the song, and I had a few questions about the song, and I'll ask you those in just a minute. But before I do, I wanted to let everybody know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if you are interested in any of these books, feel free to leave a comment down here in the comments below, and I will send you a link to the books. All right. According to the video, why didn't the plastic bird drop plastic poop on Ken's plastic car? What was the miles per gallon rating on Ken's car? And what is Ken wearing on his wrist? I know that's not a watch. And who are the 2 guys in the back seat of Ken's car? I thought Ken and Barbie was just pretty much an item. And why does Soren have spiked hair? And why is the Ken doll in this video bald? Ken always had a full head of brown hair. What's the deal with being bald? Why does Claus allow himself to be hit with a ball? What, he didn't see that one coming? And why does the bald Ken doll have to use a hairdryer? That'd be pretty pointless. And why is Barbie reading a magazine entitled My Little Seahorse? Shouldn't she read a more adult magazine? And Barbie is trying to feed a plush puppy? Really? And did you notice that nobody in this car is wearing a seatbelt? And when did Barbie start riding horses? I never saw a horse jockey Barbie doll. Maybe I missed that one. And when did she acquire that talent? I'd like to know that. According to the lyrics, what is so fantastic about living life in plastic? Bet you wouldn't want to stay out in the sun very long. Why would Ken want to brush Barbie's hair? What's romantic about that? Maybe slap some sunscreen on her. That'd probably be more appreciative. Wouldn't Barbie be embarrassed to be undressed in public places? What is Barbie and Ken trying to create? In the video, Barbie isn't blonde. So why does she declare that she is blonde in the lyrics of the song? All right. Now, I will give a concession here. I will admit that this song has actual music that you can actually listen to. And it's upbeat. I'll give you that. It is definitely loud and noisy, but it is music nonetheless. I've heard songs that I wouldn't even qualify as music, but this one does qualify. Near the end of the video, Ken looks very impatient. This might be a bad sign for Barbie. If someone was to compare this song to the song sung by Weird Al Yankovic, well, I would say that Aqua, she pretty much ranks up in there. Okay? The whole band does, really. It is a light and silly song. It makes a big parody. I get it. If that's what their intent was, I have to give them an A for that. However, if you're talking about a mainstream music song, this definitely gets an F. Okay, so if we take the A and the F together, we form a perfect C, and that I will give this song a C. All right. If you happen not to be Aqua and you're watching this video right now, feel free to go over to Aqua's YouTube channel, watch their videos, rate their videos, comment on their videos, subscribe to their channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell them that the speed learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Well, I see we still got one. This video response is going to go out to Bread, and that's because of a song called Aubrey. I have heard this song many times over the years. I have watched the music video, and I decided to ask you a few questions about the song. I know most of the members of the band Bread are no longer with us, but I do know that David Gates is, and I hope that he will hear this and maybe answer these questions. We shall see. Now, normally I would not go into a review of the song like this one, but due to the nature of how this song was created, I had to tell you a little background information about this song. David Gates wrote this song after watching the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's starring Audrey Hepburn. So the person he's referring to in the song is Audrey Hepburn. Okay, but we're going to pretend that there is an actual gal named Aubrey, and I'm going to ask the following questions. Who would you blame for naming the young lady Aubrey? Whose hearts never played in tune? Personally, I think some melodies would work perfectly well if the songs didn't contain words at all. However, I think your point is that if the melody of the song didn't contain rhyming words, just contained words, but it didn't contain anything rhyming, this melody would definitely lose its meaning. So I agree with that. But what light did you trip? Why did the girl leave you? Why didn't you ever take the time to meet Aubrey? Now, I will start by saying this is a very sad song, but it's also a very good song. People who are chronically lonely will relate very well with this song. The violin playing in this song is fantastic. It's perfectly matched with the guitar. Okay? I will give this song a solid A. All right, if you happen not to be David Gates or any whatever with Bread, feel free to go over to the Bread YouTube channel, watch their videos, rate their videos, comment on their videos, subscribe to their channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell them that the speed learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Whew. Oh, we got 4 in the live stream. Who's here? Let me know who you are. I'd love to hear from you. Okay. This video response is going to go out to Taylor Swift, and that is because You uploaded a music video called Party in the USA. I have watched the video, I have heard the song, and I have some questions about it. But before I present all that, I would like to tell everybody that, yes, I have published 5 Kindle books. If you are interested in any of them, let me know. Leave a comment in the comments below. They are $5 a piece. And if you leave me a comment, I will send you a link to the books. All right. Let's get into the questions. According to the music video, what movie did everyone in this video plan to see? Now, the first lyric of your song states that you disembarked from an airplane that landed in the Los Angeles International Airport. But in the music video, you're walking around at a drive-in movie theater. Is there a drive-in movie theater that close to the Los Angeles International Airport? I'd love to know that. In the second lyric, you state that you are full of future ambitions and you are carrying around a cardigan sweater. But I saw you in the video and you aren't wearing a cardigan sweater. And you don't have a cardigan sweater in your hands. Where's the sweater? And what are your future ambitions? Give me just a moment here. And how many people did you invite to this particular drive-in? And how long did it take? Did you have to wait until the sun set and you were able to watch the movie? And what refreshments were being served at the concession stands? Now, you do realize that the drive-in speaker isn't a microphone. I'm well aware that drive-in movie theaters often have a playground for children to play on. But why are all you playing on the playground equipment? Shouldn't there be children playing on the playground equipment? And what commercials are being played on the drive-in screen during the intermission? All right, but let's go on into the lyrics. I, of course, will skip the first 2 lyrics because I've already covered them. How did you summon the taxi cab? You didn't visit LA before you became famous? How many famous people did you actually see once you got to LA? You said you were homesick. What things did you miss? The taxi driver turned on the radio and played a JC song for you. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know taxi cab drivers turned on radios like that. Especially this day when you've got your smartphone with you and you don't really need it. But okay. Anyway, and which Jay-Z song did you actually hear in the taxi cab? What song is your song? Which nightclub did you go to? And you didn't research the nightclub before you went to it? I mean, you should have known already that most of the patrons wore stilettos. Okay? You never asked anybody about the nightclub. Did you actually meet the DJ? And which Britney song did the DJ play? All right. I would like for you to answer any and all those questions and put the answers down here in the comments below. But if you happen not to be Taylor Swift, not Taylor Swift, I mean Miley Cyrus, I'm sorry that I might have said that. Oh, I really screwed that up. Miley Cyrus is the one who did this, and I screwed everything up. And I'm glad I was able to catch it before. Anyway, I'm sorry, Miley Cyrus. I got it wrong. Anyway, if this isn't Miley Cyrus and you're watching this video right now, you can bonk me in the head for saying it was Taylor Swift and not Miley Cyrus. But in the meantime, feel free to go over to Miley Cyrus's YouTube channel, watch her video, rate her video, comment on her video, and subscribe to her channel if you'd like. And more importantly, tell her that the Speed Learner sent you. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Oh, boy. You know what? I'm going to leave that in there, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because I want to see how many people are sharp enough to criticize me. But I will leave a little thing in the description below saying that I said it was Taylor Swift and it was actually Miley Cyrus. My apologies. Anyway, I sure didn't catch that in my notes. I was going to do a Taylor Swift song, but I didn't decide not to do that. Okay. My mistake. Oh, that was terrible. Hold on. This video response is going to go out to Survival on a Budget Made Easy, and that is because you uploaded a video entitled Fall in Pike County, Indiana. I watched a bunch of it. I didn't watch the whole thing because it was 20 minutes long, but I did watch quite a bit of it, and I had a few questions about it. And there wasn't very many questions. I might go through it a little more carefully next time, and maybe I can find some things. It was kind of tough to find anything to ask you questions about, but we'll go into it anyway. How long did you drive before you reached your destination? Did you see any historical landmarks as you traveled to your destination, which I don't even know which destination was? How many potholes did you encounter along the way? Now, I will be honest and say that the fall leaves in this video were very nice. They looked very, very nice. And the town you were driving in, well, it's a very nice town. I'll have to give you that. It reminds me of what Aqua was like when I lived there as a kid. And I thoroughly enjoyed the campground video footage. I want to thank you very much for uploading this video. Now, feel free to answer any and all these questions down here in the comments below. And if you happen not to be Survival on a Budget Made Easy and you're watching this video right now, feel free to go over to Survival on a Budget Made Easy's YouTube channel, watch his videos, rate his videos, comment on his videos, subscribe to his channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell him that the Speed Learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo! Anybody else? Nope. Okay. This video response is going to go out to Roman King, and that is because you uploaded a video called Who Told You? I guess it featured Boston Common. Okay. Anyway, I watched the whole video, and I decided to ask you a few questions about your video. But before I do, I would like to let everybody know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and you are more than welcome to read any of these Kindle books. Leave me a comment down here in the comments below, and I'll send you a link to those books. All right, let's go into this. According to the lyrics, there is a couple, and the lady in this particular couple has been told by one of her so-called friends that her spouse has been cheating on her. Perhaps this lady should find better friends. I wonder what the guy in this relationship had to do to prove to his spouse that he wasn't cheating on her. Well, I found out later in the song. I found out also that the couple had not been married yet. So the guy proposes an idea, a sinister idea, to take his spouse to a jewelry store and have her try on some wedding rings. When she finds the one that she wants, I'm guessing he purchases the ring, and there you go. This is very romantic. I have to say, this is a really romantic song. I have to say, this is sung in a cappella, and the a cappella was brilliant in the song. I will also go as far as to say, let's see. Let me ask you this. When they go to the jewelry store and pick out a wedding ring, which wedding ring did she like? Anybody ever wonder? Maybe you should find out who created the song and ask them. Everybody in that acapella sang the song very, very well. I give you an A for real talent. Keep up the good work. All right. I want you to leave the answers to any and all questions, and you can leave comments, whatever, down here in the comment section below. If you happen not to be Roman King and you're watching this video right now, feel free to go over to Roman King's YouTube channel, watch his videos, rate his videos, comment on his videos, subscribe to his channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell him that the Speed Learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo. Wow-wee. This ought to keep you guys busy for a while. But we have more. I see a second person in here. Go ahead and sign in. Let me know who you are. And I'm going to take a brief intermission, and I will come back with the remaining 2 videos. There are 2 more to go. All right. Hang in there, folks. All right. This video response is going to go out to the beautiful Goldenhour, and that's because she uploaded a video entitled Happy New Year, January 1st, 2023. I watched your entire video, and I had a few questions about your video. And before I ask those questions, I wanted to let everybody know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if you're interested in any of them, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will send you a link to those videos. To those books. Sorry, to those books. Okay. Let's get into this, shall we? How long did it take you to decorate your Christmas tree? How large is your white cross? I saw that near the beginning of the video. You were showing us your white cross. How big is that thing? How long have you owned your manger scene? Now, I have to say that my mother actually owns a manger scene that's been in existence now for over 50 years. Long time, huh? Which Christmas decoration is your favorite? Feel free to leave the answers to any and all these questions down here in the comments below. And if you happen not to be the beautiful Goldenhour and you're watching this video right now, feel free to go over to the beautiful Goldenhour's YouTube channel, watch her videos, rate her videos, comment on her videos, subscribe to her channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell her that the Speed Learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo! We have 1 more video to go. This video response is going to go out to where the heck are the Albans, and that's because you uploaded a video entitled Hawaii Day 1, Pearl Harbor Part 1. I watched your entire video, and I had a few questions about your video. All right, before I begin, I wanted to let you know that I have published 5 Kindle books, and if anybody watching this is interested, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will send you a link, and you can purchase those books for yourself. All right, let's get into this, shall we? How long did you have to wait until you were able to board the ferry? How crowded was the ferry? Do you have any relatives who served in World War II? What equipment did they have to use to recover the USS Arizona anchor? Have you or anyone you are related to ever served in the United States Armed Forces? And you said that only one place on that whole area was air conditioned. That was the library, I believe it was. You're telling me that none of the museums were air conditioned? What books did you find in the library? Did you hear the audio tour? And why is Diamond Head called the Crater? Feel free to leave the answers to any of all these questions down here in the comment section below. And if you happen not to be Where the Heck Are the Albans, and you're watching this video right now, feel free to go over to Where the Heck Are the Albans YouTube channel, watch their videos, rate their videos, comment on their videos, subscribe to their channel if you'd like, and more importantly, tell them that the Speed Learner sent you. All right, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Woo! I knew this was going to take about 2 hours. Wowee! What'd you guys learn? Let me know. I see we got a second person in the live stream. I'd like to know who it is. I guess that second person's gone. Still got one. That's not too bad. Wow. I told you guys I was going to cover a lot of material. I was going to cover a lot of material tonight, and that's exactly what I did. I want to thank each and every person that's here tonight for watching this video. And I appreciate all of you. I really do. Now, you may ask yourself, why would it go to all that extra trouble to tell you guys ways to keep the power going in your house when you don't have the mainstream electricity? The main reason is that your Kindles, even if you have the Kindle app on your smartphone, it's not going to work if the power goes off. And there are times where the internet provider you have, they're going to have generators or something keeping their internet going, yet you're still without power. Well, not a problem. We just showed you how to deal with that. So, if you can deal with that, you say, well, wait a minute, there's still something missing. We know we can generate heat and air conditioning, which will keep us alive. That's fine. But what about the electricity itself? How are we going to store that? We have a special battery or something? Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about sodium batteries, and obviously, I've already talked about graphene. And if they start using that in the batteries, your batteries are going to become real cheap, real quick. And these graphene batteries can actually be used in cars. So your electric cars would have graphene batteries. Go figure. Anyway, all this stuff is coming, folks. I would say within the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of this. And we may end up ditching fossil fuels for all this. I know there's going to be a lot of lithium shortages, and that's going to be a problem. But if they can find a way to use sodium and graphene, there you go. I will tell you about the unique problems with sodium in a future presentation. You can research that for yourself if you like. But now I've presented you some solutions to some of your problems. Let's see what you do with them. All right. If nobody has anything to say to me at this point, that's great. I'm going to tell you more in a future video, so I would like for you to stay tuned.